AITA for ending a 5-year relationship after my girlfriend mocked me at dinner? I'm Lucas, 37, and until that dinner, I honestly believe patience was one of the reasons Audrey and I had lasted for almost 5 years. I am the kind of person who saves email receipts because I forget return windows, sets calendar reminders for bills, and checks the grocery list before leaving the parking lot. I do not enjoy public arguments. I do not post relationship problems online, drag friends into private disagreements, or turn every favor into a debt that has to be announced. For a long time, I thought that was maturity. Audrey apparently thought it was a loophole. When we first got together, one of the things I liked about her was how capable she seemed. She could walk into a crowded room and make it feel as if everyone had been waiting for her. She remembered birthdays, knew which restaurant required reservations 3 weeks ahead, and could turn an ordinary dinner into something people photographed. She also cared a lot about how things looked. At first, that seemed harmless. She wanted the apartment tidy before friends came over. She would move a half-empty tissue box out of the frame before taking a picture. She preferred gifts in proper bags instead of the store box. None of that bothered me. Over time, though, that same instinct started showing up in the way she described our relationship. The first comments were small enough to dismiss. At brunch one Sunday, Tara asked where we had booked our anniversary trip. Audrey named the resort and said, "I finally got Lucas to commit to something." Everyone laughed. I had researched the flights, compared cancellation policies, and paid the deposit 2 days earlier. I said, "I thought we picked it together." Audrey squeezed my wrist under the table and smiled. "We did," she said. "I'm joking." Another time, a friend complimented Audrey on how organized she was because she had arranged a birthday dinner for me. Audrey said, "Somebody has to do the adulting." What she did not mention was that she had forgotten to confirm the reservation, and I had called the restaurant that afternoon to fix it. Again, I let it go. Then Tara started joining in. Tara was Audrey's best friend and the kind of person who treated cruelty like a personality trait. She always described herself as the one who says what everyone else is thinking, which usually meant she said something rude and waited for people to laugh so she could call it honesty. At a backyard cookout, she looked at the food I had brought and said, "Lucas is basically the low-maintenance boyfriend starter pack. Feed him, give him a couch, and he's good." I answered, "I brought half the food you're eating." She laughed harder. "See? Sensitive too." Audrey gave me the same little smile she always used when she wanted me to accept disrespect without changing the mood. "Don't be sensitive," she said. "They know I love you." That sentence became her escape hatch. Whenever I told her a comment had crossed a line, she said everyone knew she loved me. If I asked her to correct something false, she said I was keeping score. If I pointed out that her friends had started treating me like I was incompetent, she said I needed to be more secure. The frustrating part was that the truth was almost the exact opposite of the story she was telling. I did not pay every expense in our relationship, and I never claimed I did. Audrey paid for plenty of normal things. But whenever a large expense came up, I usually covered it because I had more room at that moment and because we had been talking seriously about a future together. When she had an old balance that was blocking a financial application, I transferred her $4,200 after she promised to repay me in installments. Her message was still in my phone. "I swear I'll start paying you back after my next paycheck. Thank you for not making me feel awful about this." When we discussed moving forward with a different lease arrangement, I covered the $1,500 holding fee because Audrey said she needed a few weeks to catch up. When her phone account became complicated after a family plan change, I added her line to mine. She was supposed to transfer her share every month. Sometimes she did. Most months she forgot, and I chose not to turn it into a fight. I paid for streaming subscriptions we both used, a few recurring household charges, and the anniversary trip deposit. I also paid a $600 reservation deposit for the dinner, where she eventually called me dead weight. None of those payments made me her owner. I did not expect obedience or gratitude on command. I paid because I believed we were building something together. I also kept the details private because Audrey hated anyone knowing when she needed help. "I don't want Tara treating me like a charity case," she had said after the $4,200 transfer. So I protected her pride. I did not realize she was using my silence to build her image. The change became harder to ignore during the last 6 months of our relationship. Audrey started talking about next chapters and knowing your worth. She reposted polished quotes about women outgrowing people who were too comfortable. At dinners, she made comments about wanting a partner with momentum. When friends asked whether we were getting engaged, she would sigh and say, "Some people move at their own pace." That was especially strange because she was the one who had asked to wait. The year before, I had brought up engagement directly. Audrey said she wanted us to be more financially settled first. I respected that. We agreed to revisit the conversation after her debt was lower and after we made a decision about our next lease. In public, however, she told the story as if I were avoiding commitment while she waited patiently. One evening, after she made another joke about raising a grown man in front of two friends, I spoke to her privately. She was standing in front of the hallway mirror, trying on earrings before we left for another gathering. "I need you to stop doing that," I said. "Doing what?" "Letting people believe I contribute nothing." She held one earring near her face and tilted her head. "Oh my God, Lucas. It was a joke. It keeps being the same joke. Because you keep reacting to it." "I barely react at all." "Exactly. Then later you bring it up and make it weird." I watched her choose the gold pair and put the others back in the tray. "I don't need applause," I said. "I need you to stop letting people think you carry me." She turned around. "Why does everything have to be a scoreboard with you?" "It doesn't. That's why I haven't told anyone what I pay." Her expression changed for half a second. Then she folded her arms. "So now you're threatening to announce your contributions every time I tease you?" "No. I'm asking you not to lie." "I am not lying. You told Tara you paid for the trip." "I planned it." "We planned it. My card paid the deposit." She gave a sharp laugh. "Money is not the only contribution in a relationship. This is exactly what I mean. You reduce everything to transactions." I did not know how to answer that without getting pulled into an argument she had designed so that any mention of facts proved her point. We went out. She acted affectionate in front of everyone. By the next morning, she behaved as if the conversation had never happened. That was when I called Owen. Owen had been one of my closest friends for years. He knew I was not interested in competing with Audrey in front of our social circle. But he also knew I had started dreading gatherings because I never knew what version of me would be waiting there. I told him about the comments, the trip, and the conversation by the mirror. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You keep trying to explain yourself to people who prefer her version. They're mutual friends. Some of them are. Some of them are her audience. I don't want to embarrass her. She doesn't seem worried about embarrassing you." I rubbed my forehead. "I'm not going to start showing bank statements at dinner." "Good. Don't. But keep proof." "I already have it. The payments were mine." "Then stop over-explaining. Don't defend your character to people who came to the trial already cheering for the prosecutor. Keep clean proof. Use it once if you have to." I remember laughing because it sounded dramatic. A week later, my younger sister Hannah gave me nearly the same warning in fewer words. We were having coffee when Audrey called. I put the phone face down because I did not want to interrupt our conversation. It buzzed twice more, then stopped. Hannah watched me. "Is everything okay?" She probably wants me to confirm something for the dinner. "What dinner?" "She's planning a big night with friends. She says it's to celebrate getting her life together." Hannah's eyebrows went up. "With your card?" "The reservation deposit is on my card." "Of course it is." I frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means every time you talk about her lately, you're explaining why something disrespectful isn't as bad as it sounds." "That's not fair, isn't it?" I looked down at my coffee. Hannah softened her voice. "I'm not telling you to blow up your relationship. I'm telling you that you're confusing maturity with disappearing. I'm trying not to be petty. Being called selfish is cheaper than being used politely." I did not appreciate hearing it, mostly because part of me already knew she was right. The dinner was supposed to be on a Saturday night. Audrey described it as a celebration of a difficult year and hinted that it was also meant to be special for us because our anniversary was close. She picked a restaurant with a large patio, string lights, candles on the tables, and a private section for groups. There were shared appetizers, a fixed menu option, and a cake add-on that had to be ordered in advance. Audrey sent me the reservation page one afternoon. "Can you put the deposit down?" she asked. "I'll get it back to you after the next paycheck." I stared at the message longer than I should have. The same promise had been attached to several other payments. Still, I paid it. Part of me wanted to believe the dinner might be a reset. Audrey had been warmer that week. She mentioned our trip twice and talked about taking new pictures together. She even asked whether I wanted to invite Owen, but when I said yes, she claimed the table was already full. The afternoon of the dinner, I was in the kitchen checking the rideshare estimate when Audrey's phone lit up on the counter. I was not touching it. I was not trying to read it. The preview appeared directly in front of me while I was standing there. It was from Tara. After tonight, nobody will blame you for leaving him. Just let them see what you deal with. For a second, I thought I had misunderstood it. Then Audrey walked in, saw my face, and looked at the phone. She grabbed it so quickly she knocked a spoon onto the floor. What does after tonight mean? I asked. Her mouth tightened. Were you reading my messages? It showed up on the screen. That doesn't mean you stand there staring at it. I read one sentence because it appeared in front of me. What does it mean? She turned the phone over in her hand. Tara is being dramatic. About you leaving me? We had a private conversation. About leaving me? Can you not do this right now? I'm asking a direct question. And I'm telling you, I am not having a relationship interrogation 10 minutes before we're supposed to leave. I stayed where I was. Is tonight some kind of setup? Her eyes narrowed. Listen to yourself. That message was pretty specific. It means Tara thinks you've been difficult lately. What have you told her? She shoved the phone into her purse. This is exactly the problem. You see one message, invade my privacy, and suddenly everything is about you. I didn't invade anything. You were looking at my phone like a creep. The insult was deliberate. It moved the conversation away from the content of the message and toward my behavior. A few months earlier, I might have spent 20 minutes proving that I had not meant to look. This time I stopped. All right, I said. Audrey blinked. She had expected an argument. That's it. For now. She studied me, then reached for her coat. Good. I don't want you ruining the night because Tara used dramatic wording. During the ride to the restaurant, Audrey scrolled through her phone with the screen angled away from me. I looked out the window and replayed Owen's advice. Keep clean proof. Use it once. I did not search Audrey's phone. I did not ask for passwords or attempt to read more of her messages. I opened my own email and searched the restaurant name. The reservation confirmation showed my name, my email address, the $600 deposit, and the card ending in my last 4 digits. Then I searched the trip confirmation. The anniversary trip deposit was $2,800, also on my card. The cancellation window closed in 9 days. Next, I opened my bank app and found the $4,200 transfer. Beneath it was Audrey's text promising repayment after her next paycheck. I checked the cake add-on. My card again. The evidence was not hidden. I had simply never looked at it as a pattern. The dinner deposit, the trip, the old debt, the holding fee, the phone line, the recurring charges. Each expense had been followed by a promise that we were building a shared future. Now Tara's message suggested Audrey had been planning to leave after one more public performance, with her reputation protected and the large charges already paid. I took screenshots of 3 things: the dinner reservation, the $4,200 transfer with Audrey's repayment promise, and the trip confirmation. Nothing else. I did not want to dump 5 years of private life onto a table. I wanted enough proof to stop one lie. When we arrived, Tara was already seated on the patio. She wore a bright red jacket and had placed herself at the center of the table like a host, even though the reservation was under my name. Blake was there too. I knew Blake as one of Audrey's older friends. He had drifted out of the group for a while and recently started showing up again. Audrey had mentioned him several times over the past month, usually in ways designed to sound casual. Blake just bought a new place. Blake says people wait too long to make major changes. Blake thinks relationships should push you forward. I was not jealous of Blake. I barely knew him, but I noticed that Audrey glanced at him whenever she talked about ambition or options. That night, the seat beside her was open. She took it. I sat across from them. The server brought sparkling water and placed shared appetizers down the center of the table. Candles flickered inside small glass holders. The air smelled like grilled meat, citrus, and the patio heaters above us. For the first 10 minutes, everything was normal. Then Tara leaned across the table. So, Lucas, she said, are you still letting Audrey do all the adulting? A few people laughed. I looked at Audrey. She was smiling into her glass. What does that mean? I asked. Tara tore a piece of bread. Oh, come on. You know, planning, bills, keeping life moving. A man at the far end of the table said, Must be nice having someone handle all that. Audrey laughed. Honestly, I love him, but sometimes I feel like I'm raising a grown man. There it was again, except this time the table did not react like they were hearing a new joke. They reacted like they were hearing confirmation of something they already believed. The comments were too specific. Tara mentioned bills. Another friend asked whether Audrey had finally convinced me to follow through on the trip. Someone else said Audrey deserved a year where she did not have to drag someone across the finish line. I watched faces around the table. Some people looked amused. Some looked uncomfortable. Blake leaned back in his chair and stayed quiet, but Audrey kept checking his reaction. I asked her, "Is that really what you've been telling people?" The laughter thinned out. Audrey looked at me as if I had interrupted a speech. "Don't start. I'm asking. It's a joke. Tara just said you handle the bills. You are being incredibly insecure right now. Is that what you've told them?" She took a slow sip of wine. "Can you try being secure for once and not ruin my night?" Tara jumped in. "Nobody said you're useless, Lucas. We said she does a lot." "She does," I said. "That wasn't my question." Audrey set down her glass. "Why are you turning a celebration into a cross-examination? I gave you a chance to answer." Blake looked between us. "What exactly are we celebrating?" he asked. Audrey smiled too quickly. "Growth. Getting through a hard year. Knowing when to choose yourself." Tara lifted her glass. "Now that deserves a toast." I felt something inside me settle. Not break. Settle. The direct message preview, Blake's presence, the repeated comments, Audrey's strange warmth that week, and the upcoming cancellation deadline on the trip all clicked into place. This was not Audrey venting. This was rehearsal. She wanted a room full of witnesses to see her as the exhausted partner finally choosing herself. She wanted them to believe I was dependent, passive, and holding her back. Then, when she ended things, nobody would ask why she had accepted thousands of dollars from me while preparing her exit. Audrey started to rise from her chair and raised her glass. The candles reflected in it. "To knowing your worth," she said, "even when someone else gets too comfortable." Tara clapped once. Audrey looked directly at me. "And to finally not carrying dead weight forever." The table erupted in the kind of laughter people use when they are not sure whether they are witnessing a joke or a breakup. Tara laughed the loudest. I put my glass down. "Before I answer that," I said, "do you want them to know what I've been paying for?" The laughter stopped. Audrey's smile remained in place, but her eyes changed. "Can you not do this right now? If I'm dead weight, nobody should be eating on my card." Tara rolled her eyes. "Wow, petty looks good on you, Lucas." I turned toward the server, who had just stepped onto the patio carrying another plate. "Excuse me," I said. "Could you please separate my bill? I'll pay for my meal and the items I personally ordered. I'm not covering the table." The server paused. "Of course. I can speak with the manager about how the deposit applies." "Thank you." Audrey lowered her glass. "You are not seriously doing this." "I am. This is my dinner. The reservation is under my name. So you're going to punish everyone because your ego got bruised?" "No. I'm paying for what I ordered. The performance is yours." Tara gave a sharp laugh. This is exactly what she means by emotional labor. The second she tells the truth, you make everything about money. I looked at her. "Did you send Audrey a message saying, 'After tonight, nobody will blame you for leaving him'?" Tara froze. Audrey's face went pale. "How dare you read my private messages? It appeared on your screen. You had no right to repeat that." I asked what it meant. "You refused to answer." Tara recovered first. "It means she's been unhappy." Then she could have ended the relationship without letting me pay for the dinner where she planned to announce that I'm a burden. Audrey stood up. "I never planned to announce anything." "Sit down," Tara said quietly. Audrey did not listen. "You are humiliating me in front of everyone." I looked at her. "You just toasted to me being dead weight." "Because I was frustrated." "You practiced that frustration with an audience." "That is not what happened." I unlocked my phone. I am not going to argue with a story I accidentally funded. I opened the reservation email and held the screen where the people nearest me could see it. "This is the dinner deposit. $600. My name, my card, my email." Audrey shook her head. "One deposit doesn't mean you carry the relationship." I didn't say it did. I opened the bank transfer. "This is $4,200 I sent Audrey to clear an old balance. This is her message saying she would repay me after her next paycheck." The friend sitting beside Tara leaned closer. Audrey's voice went tight. That was private. So was the help. You made the lie public. You offered that money. I did. I also kept it quiet because you said you didn't want Tara treating you like a charity case. Tara looked at Audrey. You told me you handled that. Audrey ignored her. I opened the trip confirmation. This is the anniversary trip deposit. $2,800, paid by me. The trip Audrey told several of you she planned and paid for herself. One woman at the end of the table put her fork down. I thought you said you covered that, she said to Audrey. I organized it, Audrey replied. That's not the same thing, the woman said. Audrey turned on me. You think money gives you the right to humiliate me? No. Your lie gives me the right to correct the record. She laughed, but there was no confidence in it. You're twisting everything because your ego got bruised. Which part am I twisting? The part where you said I don't pay, or the part where my card paid for the reservation you're sitting at? No one laughed. The server returned with a manager, a middle-aged man holding a small tablet for the restaurant's payment system. He looked politely uncomfortable. Sir, he said, I understand you want the checks separated. Yes, I'm paying for my meal and the drink I ordered. I also want any add-ons not already served canceled. Audrey stared at him. The cake is already ordered. The manager looked down at the reservation. The dessert add-on is attached to the payment method used for the reservation. It has not been served yet. Please cancel it, I said. Audrey stepped toward me. Lucas, stop. The manager kept his expression neutral. The reservation deposit is tied to the card and email used to make the booking. We can apply the deposit toward the final bill, but the cardholder controls the authorized add-ons. Tara folded her arms. So now we're canceling a cake. Very mature. I looked at her. You planned a breakup rehearsal on someone else's card. I don't think you get to grade maturity tonight. Blake finally spoke. His voice was quiet. You told me you were paying for this. Audrey turned toward him. That is not what I said. Yes, it is. I said it was my dinner. You said you had everything covered. I did have it covered. With his card? She looked around the table as if searching for someone who could rescue the sentence. Blake's expression hardened. And why did you tell me Lucas wouldn't be around much longer? Audrey's mouth opened. Tara said, Blake, don't make this worse. He looked at her. I didn't know I was part of some breakup rehearsal. Audrey snapped. You weren't. Then what exactly did you mean when you told me you wanted to get through this dinner cleanly? That landed harder than anything I had shown on my phone. I had not known about that phrase. The table went completely silent except for the low music coming from inside the restaurant. Audrey looked at Blake with pure anger. That was taken out of context. What context makes it better? He asked. She did not answer. Instead, she turned back to me. You've been waiting for a chance to do this. No. You had screenshots ready. I took them in the car on the way over after I saw Tara's message. You were planning to ambush me. I was planning not to be ambushed. Her face tightened. You could have talked to me privately. I did. You called me insecure. Not tonight. 10 minutes before we left, I asked if this dinner was a setup. You called me a creep. Tara pushed her chair back. Okay, everyone needs to calm down. A friend across from her said, Did you really send that message? Tara's jaw moved. I was supporting Audrey. By helping her make Lucas look bad, I believed what she told me. So did we, the friend said. That's the problem. Not everyone suddenly turned against Audrey. Real life is rarely that clean. One man looked down at his plate and said nothing. Another woman muttered that relationship finances were complicated and she did not want to get involved. Tara kept defending Audrey, though her confidence was fading. Two people looked embarrassed because they had laughed the loudest. The manager asked whether we still wanted the next shared course. Audrey said yes. I said, not on my bill. He nodded. We'll adjust it. There was nothing dramatic in his tone. He did not take sides. He simply did what the reservation terms allowed. That procedural calm made the situation feel even more final. I paid for my meal, my drink, and the portion of one appetizer I had ordered before the comment started. The manager applied part of the deposit and arranged for the remaining eligible amount to be credited back to my card after the rest of the table settled their bill. The cake was canceled. Tara called me petty one more time. I did not respond. While everyone waited for their checks, I opened my banking app and sent Audrey a repayment request for the $4,200 she had explicitly promised to return. I included a date 30 days away and wrote, Repayment discussed in your message dated March 14th. Please confirm a payment plan by the deadline. No insult. No threat. Just the amount, the date, and the reason. Audrey's phone buzzed on the table. She looked at it, then at me. You sent me a payment request right now? Yes. You're unbelievable. No. I'm done being vague. She leaned closer and lowered her voice. Do you have any idea what this makes me look like? I held her gaze. You wanted them to see what you deal with. Now they can see what you were living off. Her face crumpled for a second, but then the anger returned. You never gave me anything without strings. I gave you privacy. You used it to call me a burden. I stood and put on my jacket. Audrey grabbed my wrist. Don't leave like this. I looked down at her hand until she released me. We're done. The words were quiet. There was no speech after them. She stared at me. You don't mean that. I do. Over a joke? Over the months you spent building a lie so you could leave after I paid the final deposits. I never said that. Tara did. Tara doesn't speak for me. Blake just repeated what you told him. Audrey looked toward Blake, but he was already asking the server for his own check. I stepped away from the table. Behind me, Tara said, let him go. He's trying to punish you. I turned once. No, I'm removing myself. Then I left. My rideshare receipt showed I had requested the car at 9:47 p.m. Audrey called before I reached the pickup area. I declined it. She called again while I was in the car. Then came the messages. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I cannot believe you brought private finances into this. You made a scene at a dinner that was supposed to matter to me. Money doesn't give you the right to control me. Tara was wrong to phrase it that way, but you proved her point. I read them without replying. When I got home, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I did not empty any account Audrey owned. I did not touch her money, cancel her personal cards, or lock her out of anything that belonged to her. I removed mine. First, I canceled the anniversary trip. We were still within the cancellation window, so most of the deposit was refundable. The confirmation arrived a few minutes later. Then I removed Audrey as an authorized user from a shared payment account that was in my name. I changed the billing information on the streaming services I planned to keep and canceled the ones I did not use. I scheduled her phone line to be released from my account so she could transfer it instead of losing the number. Finally, I emailed the person handling the lease-related plan and said I would not be signing the renewal paperwork. The $1,500 holding fee was partially refundable. The part that was not refundable was an expensive reminder that I should have asked harder questions earlier. At 11:18 p.m., Audrey texted again. You canceled the trip? I replied for the first time. Yes. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. That trip was for our anniversary. We are no longer together. You cannot just make decisions like this. The reservation was in my name and paid with my card. This is financial punishment. No. I removed my money from plans we are no longer making. She called. I answered because I wanted there to be no confusion. Her voice was shaking. You made everything about money. You made it about my value. I corrected the numbers. Do you hear yourself? You sound cold. I asked you privately to stop telling people I contributed nothing. I never said nothing. You let Tara call me dependent. You said you were raising me. You toasted to dropping dead weight. I was angry. You were smiling. There was silence. Then she said, I was going to talk to you after dinner. About ending the relationship? Another silence. Audrey, I didn't know what I wanted. But Tara knew. She was helping me think. Blake knew I wouldn't be around much longer. I said things when I was frustrated. You also waited until after the dinner deposit, the trip deposit, and the holding fee. That is such an ugly way to look at it. It is an ugly pattern. She started crying. For almost 5 years, that sound would have ended the argument. I would have softened my tone, taken responsibility for the entire conflict, and delayed any decision until she felt better. This time, I stayed quiet. Eventually she said, so that's it? You throw away 5 years because my friends made jokes. No, I'm ending 5 years because you used those friends to turn a lie into a public verdict. I loved you. I believe you loved parts of what I gave you. That's cruel. It is honest. She inhaled sharply. Can we meet tomorrow? No. Lucas, please. We can communicate in writing about your phone transfer, your belongings, and the repayment request. Nothing else. You can't shut me out like this. I am not shutting you out. I am ending the relationship. Then I hung up. The next morning, I had 12 missed calls and 23 messages. Tara sent 2 of them. The first said, "You need to stop financially abusing Audrey because your feelings got hurt." The second said, "Canceling her phone is dangerous and controlling." I replied once, "Her service is not being canceled. The line is being released so she can move it to her own account. Do not contact me again." She responded with a paragraph. I did not read it. Around noon, Blake sent a short message. "I didn't know the dinner was on your card or that she had borrowed that money. She told me you were basically checked out and she was preparing to end things. I don't want to be used as a backup option or part of whatever version she's telling now. I'm stepping away." I wrote, "Understood." That was all. 2 friends from the dinner apologized privately. One said, "I laughed because I thought the comments were based on things I didn't know. I should have asked why you were so quiet instead of assuming it meant they were true." The other wrote, "Why did she say you didn't contribute if the entire dinner was on your card? I'm sorry. I helped make that worse." I appreciated the apologies, but I did not rush to reassure either of them. I replied, "Thank you for saying that. I need distance from the group for a while." One person defended Audrey, saying I had weaponized generosity. I did not argue. I had spent enough time defending myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. Over the next several days, Audrey tried to rebuild the story. She told some friends that I had financially punished her for expressing dissatisfaction. She said I had always been controlling about money and had used the dinner to reveal my true character. The problem was that too many people had been sitting at the table. They had heard the toast. They had seen the reservation email. They had heard Tara's message. They had listened to Blake repeat Audrey's words about getting through the dinner cleanly. Her new version did not completely fail. Tara believed it, or at least acted like she did. A few people preferred the explanation that both of us were equally toxic because that allowed them to avoid admitting they had helped humiliate me. But the clean victim narrative Audrey had planned was gone. That mattered to her more than the breakup itself. 3 days later, she came by to collect the belongings she had left at my place. Hannah was there because I did not want the conversation to turn into another private rewrite. Audrey arrived wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy. She took them off when she came inside and looked around as if she expected the room to show signs that I was falling apart. Her things were packed in 2 boxes near the door. Clothes, a charger, several books, skincare products, and a framed photo she had given me. She looked at the boxes. "You packed everything?" "Yes." "That was fast. I wanted it organized." She gave a humorless laugh. "Of course you did." Hannah stayed in the kitchen, close enough to hear, but not hovering. Audrey picked up the framed photo and stared at it. "Did any of this mean anything to you?" "It did." "Then how can you be this calm?" "Because I already had the argument privately. You dismissed it." She put the photo into the box. "I made mistakes. You planned a room around one of them." "I did not plan that toast." Tara's message said otherwise. Tara gets carried away. "You raised the glass." Audrey pressed her lips together. "I was afraid to leave." "So you needed everyone to hate me first?" "I needed support. You could have said you were unhappy." "I tried." "No. You built a character for me and introduced him to our friends." Her eyes filled with tears. "I felt like I was carrying the emotional side of everything." "Then you should have said that. Instead, you lied about bills, planning, the trip, and the debt. You always come back to money. Because that is the specific lie you told." She looked toward Hannah. "Do you need an audience too?" Hannah answered before I could. "I'm here because he spent 5 years protecting your privacy, and you used that privacy against him." Audrey looked back at me. "So you've told your family everything now?" "I told my sister what happened." "How is that different from what I did?" "I told her after the relationship ended. I did not spend months recruiting her to humiliate you while asking you to pay for the event." Audrey wiped under one eye. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing except what we already discussed. Transfer the phone line by the date in the email. Confirm a repayment plan by the deadline. After that, there is no reason for contact. I can't pay $4,200 in 30 days. I asked you to confirm a plan, not pay the entire amount in 30 days. You know I can't afford what you're asking. Then propose installments." She stared at me for a long moment. "This is who you are now." "No. This is what a boundary looks like when I stop apologizing for it." She lifted one box. Hannah took a step forward to help, but Audrey said, "I have it." At the door, Audrey turned around. "You're going to regret throwing this away." I did not answer. She waited, then carried the box outside. Hannah helped with the second one and returned a minute later. When the door closed, she looked at me. You okay? No, I said. It was the first honest answer I had given all morning. She nodded. Good. That would have been weird. I laughed despite myself. Ending the relationship did not make 5 years disappear. I still woke up expecting Audrey's alarm on certain mornings. I reached for my phone when I saw something she would have liked. I found one of her hair ties under the couch and had to sit down for a minute. But missing someone is not evidence that leaving them was wrong. Audrey eventually transferred her phone line. She proposed a repayment plan for the $4,200, smaller than I would have preferred, but consistent enough that I accepted it. I kept every conversation limited to dates, amounts, and confirmation numbers. She sent 2 longer apologies. The first said she was sorry the dinner got out of hand. I did not respond because that phrasing made the event sound like weather. The second was more direct. She admitted she had told Tara and several friends that I was financially dependent because it made her feel more powerful. She admitted she had let people assume she paid for the trip. She said she had been considering ending the relationship and wanted reassurance that people would side with her. She still insisted she had not consciously planned to use me. Maybe that distinction mattered to her. It no longer mattered to me. I replied, I received your message. Please keep future communication to the repayment schedule. She sent, after everything, that's all you have to say? I did not answer. Owen later asked whether exposing the receipts had felt good. I thought about it. Not really, I said. Leaving felt good. The rest felt necessary. He nodded. That's probably healthier. The truth is, I stayed quiet too long. I thought refusing to keep score made me generous. Sometimes it did. But generosity without boundaries gave Audrey room to claim my contributions as her own and recast my silence as proof that I contributed nothing. I thought not embarrassing my partner was part of loving her. Audrey treated it as permission to embarrass me without correction. I did not expose her because she was planning to leave me. People are allowed to leave relationships. I exposed her because she tried to make me pay for the lie she used to leave. She wanted everyone to see me as dead weight, so I stopped carrying the table. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.